Hey friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kaylee and this is Foodie Friday.
That's good.
So this week we are going to be making my low carb version of a classic chocolate chip cookie. So when I was learning to be healthier, I still wanted to be able to indulge in a sweet treat every once in a while. So I decided to create a recipe that I could still enjoy on the weekends as like a little treat, but I could still stay on track with my wellness goals. So this recipe is perfect to take to girls' night or a friend's house, or just to make a little batch for yourself on the weekends. So I created this recipe with more wholesome ingredients, so it is paleo friendly, gluten-free, and vegan. So without further ado, let's get to cooking. To start off this recipe, we're going to be creaming together our fat and sugar into a large mixing bowl. The first ingredient we're going to add is a half cup of coconut sugar. Coconut sugar is the perfect replacement for brown sugar. It still gives us that same molassesy flavor that we get from brown sugar, as well as the chew that you will get from brown sugar in a classic chocolate chip cookie. The next ingredient we're going to be adding is a 1/4 cup of softened coconut oil. Be sure to use softened and not melted coconut oil. Having your coconut oil completely melted will cause for a very greasy and flat cookie, and we want to avoid that. Also, be sure to use refined coconut oil instead of unrefined in order to avoid that strong coconut flavor. Next, we'll add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, a key component in a traditional chocolate chip cookie. And then we're moving on to our final liquid/wet ingredient, which is a 1/4 cup of pure maple syrup. Be sure to get pure maple syrup. It's just a higher quality, healthier ingredient. The reason we're adding extra liquid into our cookie is we're not using all-purpose flour, and we'll need just a tad bit of extra liquid. Now, using a whisk, hand mixer, or if you have a stand mixer, you can use that as well. We're going to cream together these ingredients until they are light and fluffy. So next thing we will do is mix our dry ingredients together in a separate bowl. So we're gonna take 1.5 cups of almond flour and add it to our bowl. This is our main flour source. It's gonna give us a great chew to our cookie, as well as being a low carb alternative to all-purpose flour. Next, we'll add in 1/2 cup of tapioca flour. This is key. You need this to keep your cookie together, as well as give it a nice crispiness, and it does add to our chew of our cookie. Then we're going to take a whisk and just whisk by hand these 2 ingredients just to get a head start on our mixing process. So once those are well mixed, we will add in a teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is our leavening agent, and this will give a rise to our cookie. So we'll add in a pinch of sea salt. I like to add a good amount of salt just because I love a sweet and salty flavor. So I usually do 2 pinches, but about a 1/4 teaspoon should do the trick. So we will add that salt, whisk these ingredients together, and then next thing we will move into is adding our dry ingredients to our wet. Start by adding just 1/3 of your dry ingredients into your bowl and mixing together. This will allow for you to get a really nice smooth cookie dough consistency without any lumps. And eventually, once all your flour is added to your wet ingredients, a dough will start to form. It will be a little crumbly, but that's okay. Just switch from a hand mixer or whisk to a rubber spatula. Now it's time to add our chocolate chips, which is the final step in making our cookie dough. So I always use a 1/3 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and a 1/3 cup of dark chocolate chips. That's just my favorite combination, but 2/3 cup of chocolate chips will go into our bowl, and I use Enjoy Life chocolate chips. This is not sponsored by them in any way, but they have just always been my favorite brand of dairy-free, paleo-friendly chocolate chips.
And now we will just fold the chips into the dough.
Now that our dough has finally come together, it's time to bake some cookies. So I usually bake these at 325 for about 10 minutes because I like a really gooey center to my cookies. But if you like a more well-done cookie, 12 minutes should do the trick. And I usually line my baking sheet with parchment paper. This makes for easy cleanup as well as a cookie that won't get stuck to your baking pan. So let's bake some cookies. All right, you guys, so the cookies have come out of the oven. I allowed them to cool on the baking sheet for about 10 minutes after they were removed from the oven. This will just allow them to set just a little bit before I transferred them onto a cooling rack. So they've cooled for about 15 minutes. That way they're still a little bit warm, but really gooey in the center. So let's give these a try. I'm gonna grab this one. So breaks perfectly, stays together. I'm gonna taste it without some milk. Wow. That's really good. So now we have to do the milk test. So I'm lactose intolerant, so I just drink dairy-free milk. I usually do almond milk, that's my favorite one. So this is just cold, ice cold, dairy-free almond milk. So let's dunk it in here. If it stays together, that means it's a good cookie. All right, here we go. Oh my goodness. Perfect. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this recipe. Super delicious, nice, crispy, chewy chocolate chip cookies, lots of chocolate, sweet, salty, everything that you're looking for in a chocolate chip cookie recipe. And it's low carb. So you can get all of the ingredients as well as the nutrition information in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I look forward to next week when we come together to make another fun Foodie Friday recipe. Happy Friday, you guys.